Hey guys, my name is Rai. Today I wanted to go through how I did my plus 20 theater on my preservation evoker. This is probably one of the most difficult keys I thought from a learning perspective for my team, as we do not have forts, power word shield, or lenience from a disburst. Why that's important is that in this keystone specifically, you have to deal with a ton of one-shots, and the skill cap of this keystone is learning how to survive not exactly healing checks, but one-shot checks. We did spend a couple attempts on this key just trying to figure out how we were going to get through the mini-boss and Zav, including coordinating external cooldowns, making sure that we're hitting the right defensives, and everything. In this keystone, I'm going to be showing you every healing check, how to optimize your damage, how to optimize your living, and as well how to think about this class critically when approaching more difficult keystones. On the first boss, you're also going to have to deal with a pretty heavy healing check from the Bloodhorn and the boss itself. We are not killing the Bloodhorn right away, but we will be pressing Soothe, and there's some pretty nasty overlaps you need to survive. As I'm going into this first encounter, I'm putting out Temporal Anomaly on my team and hitting Reversion on my party. Immediately, I'm going into that Echo, 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 and on the very first tantrum, I'm going to be having a Life Bind, Stasis, Tip the Scale, Spirit Bloom, and I want all of my pre-healing out before this first smash. As you'll see there, I did hit Obsidian Scales on that first smash, so I have it from both the tantrum and the smash itself. On plus 20, this does one-shot me without any sort of DR, and I need to make sure that I'm alive for every one. You'll see here that I did hold on to my Stasis for this entire ramp, and I hit Zephyr for the first Searing Death. Echo, 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 Verdant Embrace, Life Bind, and as well, I not only released my Stasis, but I hit Emerald's Communion. The reason why I overhealed this so much is because of the overlap that happens at this point in the fight, which is about at 45 seconds, with the Bloodhorn and the boss itself. I want to make sure that my team is topped for every tick of damage, because if I make a mistake, or if they take that Raging Tantrum plus the AoE from the smash, there's a good chance that they die. That's also where we commit Mass Barrier, and as well things like short defensives, Alter Time, Bear Form, etc. For this next seer, I do make a mistake here and forgot to echo my Druid, where I end up hitting him with Time Dilation. It is okay, as I do manage to get my team topped with that Echo, 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 Burn Embrace, and then a Dream Breath to top up a little bit of the raw damage. For the rest of the encounter now, all I'm trying to do is wait back to that next Stasis and alternate things on Searing Death. You'll notice that for every Mighty Smash, I am going to hit a light defensive or a raid defensive like AMC, or I'm going to be rescuing my Druid. For the Searing Death, I'm going to be using things like Obsidian Scales or Renewing Blaze to help get my team topped. Again, rescue on Smash, Obsidian Scales on the Searing Blaze or the Searing Death. As that Searing Death starts to cast, I'm already in a Life Bind, and my first global is that pre-Spirit Bloom. This is a ton of healing and lets me set up perfectly so that I can heal the rest of the smash really easily as I release my Stasis. Now all I have to do is wait for the big AoE coming up, as indicated on the top left of my screen above my party, that the large Mighty Smash is happening in a couple seconds. I get my team topped, and remember, what am I doing? I'm looking to rescue my Druid. I do commit Tip the Scales just to get it on cooldown, and this boss is going down pretty quickly. Again, this entire encounter, I'm keeping tons of reversions out, and I'm keeping passive healing just to make sure that my team can handle a little bit of the raw damage. For dispels, I'm making sure to prioritize other team members first, specifically my Druid. I dispel myself second, and lastly, I dispel my mage if he doesn't have any buttons. Usually my DK is more than fine, and I can cover him with just a little bit of passive healing if needed. I think that this encounter overall is very tricky, because if you don't completely top your team at all points, it's very easy to fall behind. You need to be making sure that for every Searing Death, your team is constantly topped and you're hitting that dispel immediately. Use Stasis early, release it on the first Searing Death, and then use that second one for Searing Death only. Top up the Mighty Smash with Life Bind, and you're going to be good to go. In this keystone, I ran specifically very low mastery, high crits, and high haste, and if I were to do this again, I think I would be running a lot more versatility just to prevent some of these one-shots. This might be the only key this entire season where I did get a little bit frustrated from not having versatility, and you're going to find out why here in a second. We do decide to slowly kill this Arbalist down a little bit before pulling into Dokig the Brutalizer. Dokig specifically is the harder mini-boss of the two for preservation because he puts out that nasty slam every 10 seconds, and in conjunction with the Arbalist, it's where we were having a lot of problems. Without power word shields and without enough healing, it's almost impossible for me to top my team with the Arbalist at the same time. As we go into Dokig, I'm actually pressing Emerald Communion as my first global to give myself a 20% health increase while this Arbalist is alive. I hit Obsidian Scales, and there as well, as I kind of pause, you'll see that I did have that Obsidian Scales and Renewing Blaze rolling while the Arbalist was alive, and the health increase which just faded from Emerald Communion. The Emerald Communion health increase from Rush of Vitality is an insanely powerful talent node in this keystone, as it's going to give you a 20% health increase, which is going to help immensely against surviving some of these one-shots. For every single brutalizing slam from Dokig, I am going to be pressing Hover, Obsidian Scales, Rescue, Zephyr, or Time Dilation. As you see there, just before the damage event went out, I hit that Hover and I'm back in the encounter. If I don't hit Hover or anything at all, I simply die to the one-shot. My mage commits Mass Barrier on this next AoE, and I'm topping up my team a little bit here and saving that charge of Hover. In this Keystone 2, I am specifically running Time Spiral, which is an insane value because remember, when you hit Time Spiral, you get another charge of Hover, which is a 20% damage reduction. My Druid forgot to hit Bear Form on that mini-boss, which again is what I was talking about earlier, the biggest problem in this key. We had to recalibrate ourselves on how to live without, any sort of, help from shielding or any sort of externals, so we did have a little bit of a problem here with our Druid just getting one-tapped without Bear Form or a raid external. This time he does come back in with that Bear Form online, and we do manage to get him topped. What I should have done when he was coming back in the first time, even though I got him to full health, there should have been no reason I didn't hit Time Dilate on him, but my tank did end up needing TD, so maybe it was a little bit lucky that our tank didn't die and our Druid stayed alive. Into the Captain Pool, this is another pretty hard healing check, but what we're going to be doing here is MCing one of these Arbalists. Due to timer constraints, we are going to be releasing it quick, and you're going to see here that I immediately start ramping my stasis. Again, on a pack like this, we need to think about proactive damage. When we're fighting two Arbalists, I know that there's going to be potentially two bleeds and the potential for double shots. If these two shoots target the same person, there's a good chance that this team member will just get one shot right off the bat, and while the captain's alive, this is an absolute ton of damage to be able to heal through. I immediately cauterize my Druid as he's one of the weaker defense players on my team, as I don't want him to be in bear form while he's hitting cooldowns. And this entire fight, I'm hitting Echo, 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 Burn Embrace, Spirit Bloom, and then looking to rewind if I need to. Remember, we're leaving all these Arbalists out right now, we're not controlling them, and we're just trying to kill off the captain. I can use every single button I need to here to stay alive if I need to, so I'm calling for Darkness, I'm spam healing my Druid, and always keeping out Max Reversions and Dream Breath. As soon as I have no more Dream Breath left, if my Tip to Scales fades and I don't have Time Dilation, it's where I want to slam that rewind. I do get Emerald Communion back here in 5 seconds as well, but we do manage to kill off this pack just in time. One trick that you can do is you actually don't need to kill these conscripts off before going into Zav. You can drag them with you, and as you can see as well, we do have one of those unbound horrors from the Plaguewing. Pulling the horror into the Plaguewing is an immense DPS gain for our Arcane Mage, who benefits a ton from Funnel. For the more damage that he has, or the more targets he has, he's going to be doing more damage. Now, I'm going to pause Zav for a second and talk about one-shot capabilities on Prez. I do have Time Dilation, I do have Obsidian Scales, I do have Zephyr, Rescue, and as well, remember, I have Emerald Communion for a 20% health increase. However, any mechanic on Zav will one-shot me without the appropriate defensive. On this fight, I do alternate Time Dilation and Obsidian Scales myself. I rescue the Druid when he doesn't have Bark Skin to make sure that he doesn't have to go into bear form for max uptime, and I'm hitting Zephyr for my team when they need some coverage. One thing to note is Not Even Close actually says that I live with just hitting Zephyr, but I end up dying on this encounter and getting very frustrated with this, so this was a little tilting. It was the only one I decided I wasn't going to hit Obsidian Scales on. I was like, hey, Zephyr should be enough, I should be fine. The second note on this encounter is your healing does not matter. You can take as long as you need to heal up, so don't panic. Make sure you're weaving in and out of these frontals, and I'm going to show you the patterns and the things you need to do to make sure you're not hitting the floor on Zav. Again, one note is I did take Time Spiral in this key if I got really unlucky, so I could have 3 charges of hover. I do rescue my druid there. As another note is Zav can sometimes actually change his spell queue and do a leap here. In case he does do that leap, even though it's not on the timer and he's only supposed to do a second tank buster on this part of the fights, it is possible you get the leap and die, and I have seen it before, so I did pre-rescue my druid, which does keep him alive on here in case we get the leap. Otherwise, on this encounter, I'm going to be hitting Zephyr here, and watch as I go down to what I should have lived. I die by a 60k overkill, even though the website said I should have lived, so again, pretty frustrating. I wait for the combo to finish, and I end up taking the res. For the rest of the encounter, I will be pressing Time Dilation or Obsidian Scales on every mechanic after that, as I can't afford to waste battle reses here. The thing that matters most in this fight is optimizing your healer damage. You're going to see like quite a bit here that I just basically spend all my time making sure that I'm hitting as many Living Flames as I can into the boss, staying close to melee where I can, hitting that hover to get out of the middle, and hitting that Time Spiral if any of my team gets stuck. As you'll see here, I do hold on to that Tip the Scales for a second as it comes up, as I want my team to be back up before I use it. Remember, Tip the Scales in conjunction with Threads of Fate is insane, and you should be trying to use it on bosses like this where there's no healing, just to do as much damage as you can. Healer damage for the most part is insignificant, but it is pretty good on bosses. So the more healing you can do on boss encounters, or sorry, damage you can do on boss encounters is going to be way more impactful than any trash damage you do as a healer. Anytime you have prio damage is when your healer damage actually matters, so if I can speed up this encounter even by 5-10 seconds by doing an extra 300k DPS, it is going to help my team a lot moving on to the next checkpoint. Another thing you'll note too is we're not actually killing banners in here. Most of the strategy revolving Zav in the hierarchy stones is ignoring these banners and just dealing with the slow capability as needed. So anytime that we have to deal with this triple combo, we are just going to have to be moving out and relying on our movement speed abilities to get us through this part of the encounter. One trick that you can always do on this encounter is if you find yourself dying to Zav, that you can actually just stack in the middle. When he's about to do his Might of Maldraxxus, where he jumps up in the air, stomps down, and hits everybody for all their health, if you're in the middle of the room, you have the highest possible chance of being able to detect the first movement without needing to actually hover. So look at my positioning here, and watch how I just walk out of that first frontal. I don't need to commit a hover, I don't need to do anything crazy, and I can hover out of the second one into the wall. If you do get the combination of that double frontal, you want to make sure that this is where you time spiral, or you're in a position where you can get out of all the frontals very easily. Another out on this fight is, and I don't showcase it in this video, but you can actually deep breath if you're really fast. So say you get stuck in one of the frontals from Might of Maldraxxus, you can actually commit deep breath and it'll send you out to the other side of the room. But see, even here, right, like I'm watching and making sure I'm in the middle of the room for that first combo. I rescue my druid right to the middle, and I'm just walking out of these frontals. If I'm against the wall in these frontals, there is a chance that I could just get caught, get killed, and then we're going to have to use another battle res. I think Evoker has a pretty easy time on this, but again, you have no way of absolutely removing those snares other than deep breath, so you want to be very, very careful about what you press. As this encounter is coming to an end, pay close attention here to what I have available for the lust pull in this dungeon. I do have Tip the Scales, which I'm going to be using for damage on this next pull, and I'm going to be saving Stasis for a pretty deranged and demonic pull at the bottom of the stairs. I'm going to show you guys a tip on how to do this, as I found out about this last week. If you're watching this video and you do tank, or you do heal, or maybe you play in the group setting, I'm going to show you the easiest way how to do the Undead Wing. So, I should have said Plague Wing, but as you go into this pull, one of the things you don't want to do is kick the Withering Decay. You want to make sure that you're kicking all the short casts, like the Decay and Slime that's targeted on your party members, and then you want to be using stops on the Withering. So when the Withering comes out here, what you're going to be seeing is we just chain stop, but we never actually kick them until the very end. I ended up doing this with my Brewmaster and my other team about last week when somebody showed me, and then I think all my groups have been doing it now, but it makes this really, really easy because if you're not kicking this Withering Decay, they actually never move and they all stay perfectly stacked up in Bloodlust. The reason why this is nice, it means is that they're not going to leap. So for any of your classes that deal good cleave for mobs being stacked up, all you have to do is keep them kind of stuck here together, and they're just not going to jump. This pull goes exceptionally fast with this strategy, as we don't have to worry about these jumps at all, and everything is constantly just in the blender of AoE. This also lets me do a ton of damage on this pack as everything's stacked, and I don't have to worry about healing my team. Notice there that I didn't commit stasis. The reason why I didn't commit stasis is because I'm absolutely going to need it for the bottom of the hill here, as this next pull is very, very difficult. We are going to be pulling the gas bag with the bridge, meaning that we have all our leapers. We have a decay caster, a decay speaker, and we have all the consecutive tank damage that's going to be going on. As we get down in this pull, you're going to be seeing immediately that as we gather, I'm going to be hitting Zephyr to deal with a little bit of the rot AoE. I'm going to have Temporal Anomaly out with Reversion on my team to make sure that they have that Grace Period effect. Remember, Grace Period not only increases their healing receipt by 10% for 1 stack, but 20% if that target has 2 stacks. So you'll see right now, I always try to prioritize myself and my Druid, who probably need the most healing on these encounters. In conjunction with this, I am going to be getting those Life Spark procs available from keeping my Reversions rolling. On a pull like this, it's really important to always make sure that you have TA out as you go, and you're going to be seeing I put those Echoes out so that I can Life Bind immediately. Echo, 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 Verdant Embrace, Stasis, Spirit Bloom, and my team stopped. Again, you can see just how much damage is going out here from not only the gas bag, but all the leapers kind of going on. I'm constantly in a state of Life Bind as I'm pressing that Echo, 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 Verdant Embrace, and then as soon as that Life Bind falls, I'm releasing my Stasis. I hit a big Spirit Bloom here, and immediately I rewind, because one of the problems with this pull is it's not just about that rot damage. You have all these leapers going out and killing your team, and I need to fill until I can get to that tip the scales in 10 seconds. Right now, I just blew Emerald's Communion not only for the healing, but as well, and what I talk about a ton, is that Emerald Vitality buff. Remember, now I'm going to have 20% increased health for 15 seconds, and you can see my health went up to almost 13 million. This is an insane value pick, as not only do I get to rotate Obsidian Scales, but as well, I have that 20% health increase. I go into my next Life Bind, and as well that Fire Breath with that Life Bind, and my Tip the Scales comes up here for this very last part of the AoE. I hit Tip the Scales without Life Binding, and as well now I can Echo, 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 Burn Embrace, and my team is stopped. This pull is exceptionally hard, and if you are going to be doing this, which you probably won't be, but if you do, this is the first time I had to heal it, and it was actually pretty difficult, so I definitely did not underestimate the pull. I came in prepared, and I'm really happy I saved all the tools that I did. But if you do plan to do the gas bag on the bridge, just make sure that you're constantly keeping out all your HOTS available to you. Now we're going to have to be doing with probably the most ranged boss this entire season, which is Gorechop. Again, this is another very difficult boss when you don't have pre-shielding, because any 2 leaps will immediately kill off my team. You'll see here that I'm constantly healing this fight as I would something like some of the trash in Darkthin Cleft. Gorechop is a very, random or RNG based encounter with the leaps, so you can bait these leaps out, and you're going to see that weak aura above the head of the oozing leftovers, which determines how long until their next leap. But anytime those leaps go out, even if I take one, I start to move, because if I ever take 2 without Obsidian Scales or a wall, Time Dilation, Emerald Communion, or even that rescue, I'm just going to die. So again, I'm moving around a ton. I'm using hover on almost cooldown to make sure that I'm casting, and I'm watching carefully the casts of these mobs. But again, one thing you're going to notice is I treat this literally like a rot healing fight, right? This isn't, I know there's no aura that makes it so that we're taking damage all the time. But again, look at those leapers jump in. Look at how much health I lose just from one leap, almost 60%. And I know that anytime my team is taking damage, I need to top them immediately, because a second leap is going to mean their death. Another thing too is you want to make sure that you're not stacked. As you see, I'm running around the room. I'm trying to avoid being on top of other players, because the cleaves from the leapers can easily kill my team as well. But anytime my team drops even below 90%, I'm making sure I do a big heal on them and use anything to top them. Again, Echo, 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 Verdant Embrace, Spirit Bloom, Verdant Embrace, Dream Breath, Verdant Embrace, and as well just keeping those reversions out at all times. You'll see there that we did get really unlucky as we all got stacked up for those leaps just at the end of the chains, and I did go down. I did have one charge of scales, which I should have pressed it there, and was a mistake on my part, but it happened so fast it was almost impossible to recover. I do hit a big Spirit Bloom, I time dilate my tank, and now I'm chasing down my druid to make sure that he lives. This is also a very good fight to use Time Spiral just on cooldown. I think this is one of the only dungeons in this pool where I'm using Time Spiral as part of my toolkit. But, you know, for something like this where you want to be hovering a lot and that hover can give you 20% TR, Time Spiral is absolutely insane. Again, I slam Emerald Communion as I learned my lesson from last time, and it's giving me that Emerald Vitality 20% health increase, which does end up saving me there. I do start ramping my stasis with a 3-charge Spirit Bloom, a Dream Breath, and I just threw a Temporal Anomaly in there. At this point, the boss is at 30%, and all I care about is making sure that my team is constantly in a state of being full on health. I think this is one of the most interesting healing fights actually of the season, and it's not because of anything traditional, right? Like, when I think about the Candle King, I think about this very, you know, precise, collected, methodical approach. And I think about Gorechop, which is just this chaotic kind of blender of damage, right? Like I'm constantly, you know, trying to figure out where I need to be, where I need to go, what buttons I have available at every second to top my team off, and like using every single button in my toolkit to just constantly be healing my team up to full. Right? Like Life Spark is insane on this boss. Verdant Embrace is so good on myself, right? Like I'm only ever using Verdants on myself for life binds. I don't want to use Rescue because I never want to be stacked, right? Like it's kind of interesting. I think this, as difficult as this boss is, I think it's kind of a cool way to test not only your patience, but your movements and your ability to react to spot damage. But even there, right? Like I made a pretty critical mistake. We got stacked up, I didn't hit scales, and I just instantly died. As we get into the Soul Wing, I need to know that I need 2 things available to me. By the time we pull any Portal Guardian, I want 2 buttons, and the 2 most important buttons are that Stasis and that Tip to Scales. With an Arcane Mage, usually we won't have to deal with more than one Soul AoE, but there are some instances where I want to make sure that at least I have that Stasis covered for any combination of the Portal Guardian AoE and any of those Binding Soul debuffs. As we go in here, we're going to be waiting for our team to get up here. We're going to be hitting Stampeding Roar from the Druids, and we're going to be getting into this next room as quickly as we can. Our prerogative and the most important thing is that we all get in the doorway so that we can LOS any of the Shackled Souls casting in the back. Again, setting up this pull, you're going to see that I start echoing right away. Echo, echo, echo. And for the very first Portal Guardian AoE, even before that, I have that Stasis, Tip the Scales, TA, Dream Breath set up. I do set out a Fire Breath, and you'll notice that all these mobs have Flame Breath on them. Remember that Lifegiver's Flame is a talent available in the bottom left of the Preservation Evoker tree. And over the course of any keystone, I think in this one it's like 8% of my healing because there's a lot less healing, but keeping Fire Breath out as not only a means of damage, but healing is an immense healing and HPS gain. It's going to cover a lot of your tank healing and a lot of passive just triage healing you need in a lot of these encounters. As I go into this Soulstorm, which is finishing its cast now, it's about to be starting, remember that I have that Echo, 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 Verdant Embrace, and because I ramped my Stasis on the Bind Souls, I can release it as early as I want with Zephyr. This is going to keep us very healthy on this AoE as I go in and release that Stasis. I do commit Rewind there just to top our team, as one of the things that I wanted to be very cautious of is that when the Portal Guardian AoE ends, he's immediately going to curse somebody with his touch. That curse can hit upwards of 50% health on somebody's health pool, so I want to make sure that they're top for that or else they could die. As this Portal Guardian goes down, remember we still have to deal with all these Shackled Souls, so I have reversions on everybody, I have that Dream Breath out, and I'm topping myself with whatever I need to do. Fortunately, that Life Spark proc did save me, as it did take me from 10% to 100% with just that Call of Ysara buff. Call of Ysara Life Spark proc is insane, even in conjunction with Life Bind or on its own, and something like that could easily save you. Remember, in this Keystone 2, I'm only running about 40% mastery, which is exceptionally low as I put all my stats into crit and haste. I found that the past couple weeks I've actually really enjoyed playing high crits, as it gives me not only reversion extensions and higher uptime on reversion, but I have been running double time, which is a chronowarden option talent at the bottom of the tree, which does make it so that whenever your fire breath or your dream breath crits, it will extend the duration up to 12 seconds. As we go down this next portal, we're going to be fighting the last portal guardian in the key, and what do I have available to me? I have available stasis, and I'll have tip the scales in 20 seconds. I can start ramping my stasis here as early as I really want to, especially in the first portal guardian. As we kick everything in here, we're going to be using that chains into that Moonkin beam. I'm going to be keeping those reversions out when I can, and then I'm going to be hitting that life bind, stasis, spirit bloom, TA, and then as well that dream breath. I did commit tip the scales in the middle here, I release my stasis, and as well I go into Emerald Communion just to top my team. I actually don't think at all that I needed my Emerald Communion, but I used it anyway just as a form of safety, and more importantly, I don't need it anywhere else in this keystone. If this Portal Guardian AoE were to happen again, I do have Mass Barrier, I do have AMC, and I do have Darkness available for my team. I usually like to rely on all my tools first and use tools for my party second, but you should be using and trying to coordinate uses of those raid cooldowns if you can, or if you're in a coordinated setting. This doesn't just apply to Press Evoker, I think it's a really good healer habit that you should be understanding, tracking, and calling those raid defensives as you need them. There's absolutely no reason to not use AMZ if you feel like you're a little bit scared. Use Darkness if you feel like there's a lot of AoE or rot damage, and call for that Mass Barrier midway through a chaotic AoE pull. This is going to be our Bloodlust pull of the dungeon, and from here on out until I get to about the last boss, all I really have to do is do as much damage as I can. You'll see that in the bottom right hand side of the screen, I am doing about 800k DPS overall, which is, I think, pretty good. I could have probably done a lot more damage this key, but I was pretty much focused on living. But in this pull specifically, right, like all I really care about is making sure my team is stopped. If I need to hit anything here, like that stasis in 5 seconds, I can hit that. I want to be hitting Renewing Blaze or Obsidian Scales if I'm getting targeted by these Bind Souls, and I want to be using my stops where I can. The thing that you want to be kicking here is this Necrotic Bolt volley from these Soul Binders. The Spirit Frost tank hit does not really matter too much, and the Bind Souls can all be stopped with very basic rotational stops. As I go into this next pull, I'm going to be slamming Tip the Scales on cooldown for that Threads of Fate value. In the log of this keystone, Threads of Fate ended up being about 1% overall, so not very much, but about a contribution of 80k party DPS. I think I've talked about it a bunch, but I think next patch, Threads of Fate has potential to be, worth about 2% of your party's DPS, which is pretty insane. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I think it'd be pretty cool. Again, on this pull, all I'm doing is using my empowered abilities to keep up that Threads of Fate buff on my party. As you can see, it's on my Arcane Mage right now. And I am just trying to make max use of that Temporal Burst as that Threads of Fate keeps going out. Again, it's not like this is going to make or break your key, but all damage does help a little bit, especially when it comes down to packs like this. I think healer damage is only relevant really when you're fighting, a boss, one priority mob, or you're trying to beat up small packs. If you've watched my video on priority damage, you'll know that this is kind of like a soft prio pack. There's nothing here that needs to die, but there is a couple mobs with varying different levels of health, and as well, if I can just be hitting the biggest target, I could save a second or two on the keystone if we can get through that portal quicker. Kaltharak is a pretty interesting healing encounter, and I don't think it's that difficult, but there are a couple tricks of which you can handle it. As I go in here, anytime we are encountering the Well of Darkness, you're going to see my combo that I use for every single one of the 2 target healing patterns, which is Echo, Burn Embrace, Spirit Bloom, and then Life Spark, or that Dream Breath. As you'll see here, immediately I Renew and Blaze, I Stasis, I Spirit Bloom, I TA, and I Dream Breath, and just that Life Bind entire window can basically save my Druid and top him. On this key level, you want to make sure that your team is using defensives for any single Well of Darkness, but otherwise, this shouldn't be too difficult from a preservation perspective. I find that for every single one of these wells, I have a button. I can release my stasis as I need, and again, the well comes out, I go Echo, Echo, Burn Embrace, and this time I hit that Tip the Scale Spirit Bloom, TA, and I Dream Breath. My mage did get a little bit lower there, but you know, that's okay, as we did manage to keep him topped up. So now I don't have stasis, I don't have Tip the Scales. What's going to happen on the next Wall of Darkness? Again, I'm going to use that Echo, Burn Embrace, and I'm going to hit that Emerald Communion. Remember, anytime that you don't have stasis or Tip the Scales, or you don't have a lot of firepower, maybe even you're behind a Spirit Bloom, what you want to be doing is using Emerald Communion and Rewind as gap fillers. As preservation, I consider my actual cooldown to be that Lifebind, Spirit Bloom, and as well like my empowered abilities, right? I think Emerald Communion and Rewind are just these tertiary buttons which help you gap fill when you don't have other buttons available on Prez. You want to be using them as a last resort, right? Like I'm getting Well of Darkness here, Echo, Lifebind, Spirit Bloom, Echo, Lifebind, Spirit Bloom over and over and over again, and that's my healing cooldown. That's my pattern for that healing mechanic every time. Just like you'll watch my video on Cinderbrew, when we are fighting the first boss, all you need to do is be cognizant of how to perform that healing pattern. Same for the last boss in Floodgate, right? For every single Gigazap, all I do is Echo, Burn Embrace, Spirit Bloom, TA, Dream Breath. If I can store stasis, that's great. If I can't, that's okay, but I want to be pairing it with a defensive cooldown like that Renewing Blaze or that Obsidian Scales. As we kind of go into the end of this boss, all I need to do is hit Fire Breath on CD, hit Living Flame into the boss, and make sure that I'm topping my party. I do have a stasis stored here, and because there's really no healing requirement, I can kind of do whatever I want with it. This time I actually didn't hit Lifebind, and I just decided to top my team with the Spirit Bloom. But as you can see, because I Lifebinded really late, my DK dropped really low. I think ultimately the approach I should always be doing on every single one of these Wall of Darknesses is just hitting Lifebinds. I think what one of the misunderstandings is about Lifebind is it's not just copying your Spirit Bloom. Lifebind has all these different combination of healing that goes into it during its window, right? You have the Spirit Bloom itself, you have any passive healing on you, so Lifebind's going to be copying that reversion, it's going to be copying any leech effect, health pot, dream breath, and most importantly, you have two additional effects of why Lifebind Spirit Bloom is so powerful. After Image from the chronowarden tree is also going to send out a living flame to my party, and as well, if I'm healing it on myself or casting a big Spirit Bloom, it's going to hit myself as well, so that's also going to be in the Lifebind window. So Lifebind has like 6 or 7 instances of healing within this window is what makes it seem like it's healing so much over 5 seconds, not just all right away. And that's why I think that combo is just so powerful, and you should be using it a lot more. Is Echo, Lifebind, Spirit Bloom, because it's not just Spirit Bloom, it's Spirit Bloom Hot, it's Reversion, it's Leech, it's everything. But anyway, as we get into this last boss here, all I need to do is make sure that my tank stays alive, use Fire Breath whenever the ads come out, and keep a light healing cooldown for any single one of the AoEs. The Manifest Death and the Grasping Rift is the only dangerous overlap of the encounter, and that's usually where I want to ramp my stasis. I don't find there to be any healing requirements on this part of the fights until the 50% mark, to which I want to start using things like my Emerald Communion, my Rewinds, and my Tip the Scales. As this first Grasping Death comes out, I go into that Lifebind window. I actually put in a Life Spark into my stasis, which was a mistake. But as these ads get gripped together, I put a big Fire Breath out, I Dream Breath, and my team is stopped. My stasis right now does not matter at all for any part of the healing requirements, as there's going to be no healing which happens for the next 30 seconds or so. Stasis is almost useless until the second part of the phase, so if you want to hit it just for the sake of hitting it, you can, but if you want to just not use it at all in this phase, that's okay too. Again, I Lifebind, I release stasis for fun, but I really didn't have to really do anything here. You will see though that I am holding Fire Breath for every ad set. On this fight, there's no reason for us to keep alive these ads for any meaningful funnel or anything else. We want them to die immediately, as any kind of combination of kicks and other damage can kill off my team. Again, big Fire Breath, TA, Reversion, and I can put out that Dream Breath. Again, my healing just does not matter. I can literally press any button I want to on this phase of the fights. All I care about is having healing for the next phase. As we deal with the tank buster into the overlap here, we're going to be committing Zephyr, we're going to be committing AMC, and I think we also hit Darkness. I immediately go into that life binds, I tip the scales, I TA, I dream breath, and I'm going to be letting all that healing work for me for the duration of that dream breath. Remember, now that I'm going to tip the scales, I have 30% haste, and I'm going to be doing an absolute ton of healing. Echo, 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 Bird Embrace, Stasis, Spirit Bloom, TA, and now I'm going to be waiting to put that next dream breath in that stasis. I kind of wait a second, I put that dream breath out, and now I have dream breath coverage for all this periodic raw damage in this encounter. I do end up committing that stasis release here on the overlap of the AoE and the second. And now we're just watching very, very carefully for the mammoth spawns in the room. Again, you'll see here that this HPS requirement isn't that big, right? I'm only at 1.8 million, but what does matter is just making sure that my team is topped for any single one of the manifest deaths. Otherwise, my healing just does not matter at all, and it's very, very easy just for my healing to let passively keep up my team. Echo, 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 Bird Embrace, Life Binds, and now I can use Emerald Communion on this next second. My DK does take a kind of stealth mammoth there, which is pretty crazy, as I don't think it actually hit him. I don't really know how that hit him, but it did. So we do get him topped up, and again, Life Binds, Echo, Echo. I hit Obsidian Scales for the expiration of the ads. I Fire Breath, and I'm back into that life bind window. At this point, I think that the boss is pretty much done, and I've kind of said my piece in the best way I think it is to approach this encounter. I don't think that this boss is a difficult healing check, but if you've made it this far, you probably already won as long as your team doesn't get hit by the mammoths. Make sure you do respect though the AoE and use your healing CDs anytime you have a Grasping Rift and Manifest Death overlap. Make sure that you're alternating things like Obsidian Scales and Renewing Blaze, and giving that time dilation to the tank if you think he needs it. Anyway, this is how I time my plus 20 theater on my Preservation Evoker. This is a very challenging keystone from a non-disc priest perspective, but it was kind of fun relearning how to do this without some of the crutches of Powered Shield. Hopefully this video helped you in becoming a better healer, a better Preservation Evoker, or on your journey to get Mythic Blessed title this season. Think I missed anything? Or if you'd like to see more of this kind of content, feel free to drop something in the comments, or feel free to join my Discord, where I have an ongoing conversation about Preservation Evoker as it is for this patch, next patch, and as well some of my talent choices, my routes, and my stat priority. Again, thanks again for all the love, thanks for the support. Come check me out on Twitch, where I stream pretty regularly, or again, if you want any of my weak auras or any of my information, it's all available for free in my Discord. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.